Hi everyone, welcome to the latest edition of the Salesfire Catch-Up Podcast. This episode, myself and Josh are joined by Scott McMullan from Bedrock, where we're going to talk a lot about his career story. He's had quite the journey going from Belfast, Newcastle to Berlin, back to Newcastle. We're going to talk about his business Bedrock quite a lot as well, and the importance of data and insights in regards to e-commerce as well. So obviously Salesfire, we're a conversion rate optimization platform, so we understand the importance of data. So there's a lot of good conversations on this episode. So please, like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do with this one, but please tell your friends. That'll be really great. Enjoy this episode, and as always, any feedback's hugely appreciated. So hope you enjoy.
I think that's something I want to talk about today, actually. So obviously I'm from an analytics background, conversion rate optimization point of view.
Yeah.
And the agency that I've started is like a boutique agency. There's only 4 of us, but like there's one creative UX designer, but the rest of us are like techie strategy people.
Okay.
And trying to grow the brand of the business it's not something we've ever done before, but it's something that every person expects a marketer to be able to do. So yeah, we've just been testing loads of stuff to see what works, what doesn't. So
how long has Bedrock been going for?
So like it was my freelance project in like my bedroom in Berlin for about 5 months. Because I originally from Northern Ireland, then moved to Newcastle for university, and then just never left for about 9 years. Started as a teacher. That's kind of what I thought I wanted to be, teacher in computing. And then I moved into, I just didn't like being a teacher, and I really wanted to start a business. So I started a cleaning company, kind of like Uber, but for cleaners.
Right.
It's called Made Up North, and Hassel came along at that time as well with like their millions of funding and stuff. But the company's still going. Me and my mum run it. More than me now.
Is that still in Newcastle? Is that where that's based?
Still in Newcastle, yeah. It's called Made Up North.
Okay, cool.
And that's how I get into digital, because I'm spending all this fucking money in Google. And was like, is this working? Is that how we're getting bookings? I'm not, is it Gumtree? And then, I started to basically, just diving into that. Read a couple of books about analytics and was like, oh, this shit's pretty cool. I can actually see what's happening here. And then that's how I get into digital. Set up tracking, set up Google Ads, done a lot of SEO on the website with my friend. And then, Silverbean had a position come up for analytics conversion rate optimization. And I was like, I'll dive into this.
Okay.
Cool.
Give it a blast.
How long were you there for?
I was at Silverbean for 2-3 years. So started there as an exec, but then got promoted like within the first, I think it was the fastest promotion in 6 months. I just loved it. It was great, because I was super technical and but very business orientated as well, because I'd set up my own. So when it came to client work, I was always like drilling down to, are we making money here? Is this what's happening?
That's ideal to hear from a client perspective, isn't it? That they've got an account manager or someone running the account who's actually got a business and understands the day-to-day.
Yeah,
that's rare.
As an account manager, if you purely come from just that digital background, the level of empathy people will often have for the clients is probably not as high as it should be, because you don't really understand the kind of like the pains and strains that a business owner will go through on a daily basis. Like in regards to like, you sat there running Google Ads for your own business. Is this working? Like you're second guessing yourself all the time, and like your priority list change on a regular basis, and for you to go in there and deal with clients and understand that early doors, I think probably one of the reasons you had quite the elevation at Silverbean.
Yeah, it's just like, when you're in that seat, you're like, God, is this working? Like, I know how I felt when I was like spaffing money at Google and seeing like what was happening. But it was great fun. I was there for 2-3 years, and then moved in-house to Virtu Motors.
Okay.
They have a massive digital team, don't they?
Yeah, there's probably about 50 plus in it now, I would say, off the top of my head. So went there as crew manager to like start doing A/B testing on all their different websites. I think there's 120 websites, or maybe I'm over exaggerating, but they turned over like 3 billion per year, which is huge. So there was like a ton of traffic to test stuff on.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But it wasn't a great fit for me. I hate cars.
It's not really a great company to go to then, is it really?
Nah, I just seen it as a good, because I've been at Silverbean for like 3 years. I'd never worked in-house. And I was like, oh, fancy working in-house. And the automotive industry pays quite well too. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this a blast. But yeah, I just hate cars, man. It's like,
what is it you hate about them? What is it that what is getting you?
They just take up so much room. I cycle everywhere. I'm like one of those hipsters in those hipster bikes, like the
little basket on front and what have you.
I always wanted one.
Yeah,
I haven't got the balance. That's my thing.
Yeah, your head's too big for the balance on the bike.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm one of those people. So that's kind of why I hate cars. But it was just a bit slow. It was very corporate because it's such a big business. So like getting things signed off and pushed through. I wasn't used to that working agency side. I was used to like moving fast and
yeah,
especially from a CRO side of things and the testing. I imagine getting signed off for things like that. If it's slow to get things put through, is going to be a bit of a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I was at the point in my career where I was like, nah, I know I can go to a different country and do things fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, then that's when I moved to Berlin, and started working for a data startup there.
Yeah.
Set up data for like there was like huge companies in Germany that probably no one in the UK has ever heard of.
Cool.
Like Kristen Depot, and all my clients were like pretty much German. I didn't speak a lick of German either. So
how long were you there?
I was there for about a year, so I was in that job for the best part of that. And then I had a few like clients reach out from previous work, and they were like, "Oh, do you fancy doing this bit of freelance?" And after a bit, I was like, "Oh, I could maybe live like the Berlin hippie dream, work freelance, like a digital nomad, you know."
Oh wow, that's some title. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. And there's another friend I worked with, and we tried to make like this analytics tool as well. And like the first business, the cleaning business, timing was not the best. We were like, we'll set up this Google Analytics tool that like automatically audits people's data, gives them feedback every like weekday or however often they want it, to say what's broken, what needs fixed. And then Brian Clifton, the analytics godfather from Google, came out and was like, "Oh yeah, we've been developing this for 2 years. It's just been released to market." So we kind of missed the boat on that, but it got me into freelance. And then, that's kind of how Bedrock was born. It was my freelance project in Berlin for a bit, and then ended up flying back and forth to meet clients. I was like, I'll just move back to the UK, be closer to the clients, because I'm punching a hole in the atmosphere here, flying back and forth.
Now that is bigger than a car as well, one of those planes, tell you right now.
Yeah.
So if you've got an issue with the cars.
What's the digital scene like in Berlin?
It's really cool, As you can imagine, Germans like shit hot with their data.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
that's amazing, yeah.
Really into it. Sometimes a little bit too into it, because if you put crap data in, you'll get crap answers out. But so, but they're really hot on data, like privacy and GDPR as well. And there's a lot of startup money in Berlin too. So there's a lot of young companies wanting to do some really cool stuff. And it's such a good digital scene and like party scene as well. So there's a lot of networking and going out for beers after work. But yeah, it's great. I'd highly recommend getting yourself across.
So I was told by the kind of UK Trade Board that, because they were trying to basically pitch for UK businesses to go over to Germany and Berlin in particular. My old MD, he went on a trade mission to college, so got a few Teesside-based digital agencies to go over there to kind of explore it. So it was kind of pitches like Germany in regards to a marketing funnel, like the very old school still, like very print heavy and stuff like that, where digital probably isn't at the level of what it is in the UK. But from what you said there, Scott, that's a complete fabrication. So like in regard, it is quite.
I don't know. There is some truth probably in what he said. So you're, I'll say the wrong German word for this, but basically Germany's economy is propped up it's called like the Mittelstagen or Mittel something. So these kind of medium-sized companies, like engineering companies and companies that do a lot of exports. Basically, all of Germany's built around these. And they're really old family-run companies that do a really good job of one thing. They tend to be legacy and not be up with the times. However, all of these new startups in that like startup ecosystem that Berlin, because Berlin is not Germany. Berlin may be in Germany, but it is not Germany. See, there's probably a bit of truth in that. The new companies, startups and stuff, which tend to be in Berlin. Pretty.
It's just sort of going back to something you mentioned earlier in regards to you running a business alongside sort of learning the trade. That's something that, especially at sort of our audiences, we've got a lot of SMEs in there. We've got a lot of retailers who literally came from brick and mortar stores, then moved their stuff online out of necessity. Is the empathy that you have for those sort of businesses something that's like woven into the Bedrock ethos and how you're sort of going about stuff at the minute?
Yeah, pretty much. So because we're still like a young company, maybe like nearly a year as an incorporated company, but probably a year and a half, 2 years me freelance. We've been going through this exercise of trying to understand like what we stand for.
Yeah.
Like what do we care about? And it's like and content's really helped that. Like, so I've been writing a newsletter about the story of Bedrock and how it came about. And that's actually, creating content has really helped just me think about what we stand for. Like,
and focus a bit. Yeah.
The three others, Richard, Phyllis, and Liam, we're all pals as well. So I've been able to hire my friends.
That's cool.
But they're all like hippie and like, we're kind of taking this David and Goliath stance of like, if you have the right like heads in the room, you don't need like huge, massive agencies like charging loads of money to like have amazing digital performance. Like small companies can move fast now with all these different platforms that are available. Like you can set up a Shopify store in like a day. If you tried hard, you know, if you tried real hard, you could get one done in a day. And then there's tools like yourselves, like Salesfire, that you can easily plug in now to these, like, you know, so the tech has never been easier. It's never been easier to go from bricks and mortar to online. But yeah, we share a lot of empathy with these like legacy business trying to do it, because one, they probably don't have the time to invest in this. Two, not that knowledgeable, so they don't know if they are getting a good deal or if they're getting ripped off as well.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
And it's complex. It's like, should I do SEO? Should I not do SEO? Does SEO work for me? This guy is going to charge me like £3,000-4,000 a month for like an SEO retainer. He says he get me results, but yeah. So what we really try to do is try and scope out whether there even exists an opportunity for a client in search or conversion rate optimization or what that looks like. So we kind of concentrate on the full. So SEO isn't SEO anymore. It's like this kind of jumble of SEO and CRO, because Google are moving more and more towards this user experience thing where it's not just how many keywords you can stuff in your H1 now. Yeah, it's how, like, are you the first click people have? Are you the longest click? And are you the last click on Google? And that's all around user engagement and if people's problems are getting solved by the website. So we do a lot of work along that full funnel. So not just like ranking people, but also helping them convert as well, all with this kind of base of data. And for lots of clients, when we try and run like workshops before we ever engage in like a long-term retainer. So we try and do
interesting.
We try and do like a workshop. It's usually like 4 hours, 8 hours, depending on how many people want to get involved.
Right. And we'll pretty in depth then. If you're talking them lengths, you must be getting into the weeds with it quite a bit.
Yeah, you really need to if you want to be like a true partner or like a long-term relationship with someone. It's kind of like first date. Yeah, is the way we think about it. It's like, you know, you don't just swipe right on someone and then jump into bed. It's like you need to take them out to bed, them, make sure they're not crazy, make sure that you're aligned on like the big issues. And it's just like a client relationship, you know?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It's like the workshop's basically just us looking at their keyword search universe and seeing, is search for you guys or
Okay. See if it's the right time. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, because we don't know your product. Like, we don't know what people search for. We can have a guess.
Yeah.
But we need to like we try and build out this kind of keyword map with them to understand, right, this is the keyword universe that you could, all the things you could rank for and people are searching for.
Okay.
Is this a good opportunity? Yes or no? And we'll be very quick to say no, go and do something else or pick another channel. It's not for you at the moment.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it often doesn't happen, to be fair, does it? It's like quite a lot of agencies these days will be like, oh, well, we can give it a go. Pay us some money. Let's see how we go.
That's always the tough thing with working in agencies previously. Not like sort of shitting on the sales process, but there's been an uncomfortable amount of times where people have said, well, you've got to, you know what SEO's like, you've got to give it that 12 months. We've got to get there. And you can see from the outset, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like, you know it was never going to work, but it's like, oh, you got to give it 12 months. And you hear these people come back and say, well, you got to give 12 months before you get anything out of it. It is one of those places where I always find there is a lack of education. It sounds like that's something that you've really addressed with the workshop. Is that something that you carry on throughout the relationship with them, like making sure they're educated and they know what's going on?
Yeah, so typically what we'll do is we'll do the workshop and then we'll have like a 6-month engagement is usually a nice amount of time to bed in.
Yeah.
But every quarter we'll usually assess what the situation looks like. Be like,
okay.
We try and like plan work quite far in advance. So like if we can't have a relationship for like 6 months, 12 months, or there's not enough work there, it's like, we don't want to work with you. We would rather just do some training so that you get the bare bones that you need. So we're kind of starting to branch a lot more into training at the moment. And basically SEO in creating content, the technical like black magic part of it is kind of, it's less and less important, like having super in-depth knowledge, because platforms like Shopify and WordPress and everything, you know, they're technically sound. You know, they're technically sound. So if you just follow the basic principles, then you can have a go yourself. And that's what we're trying to do at the minute. We're creating a training course at the moment that we're doing with a few startup incubators, just to say, because everyone starts a business, they're like, I should do SEO. And we're trying to create like this kind of 1 hour webinar where we give everyone the tools that they need to basically go away and see, do we have an opportunity here? Should I look into this more, or should I give up on this now, or approach it later? So that training piece, we feel like, because at the end of the day, you pay an agency for like strategic clout. You know how many executives there are in an agency. Like, there's quite a lot of turnover and churn. So we're trying to position ourselves more as like a strategic resource, as opposed to like, you know, churning out content in the work, because the client is the best person to do the content. Like,
completely.
There's no point.
There's no point going backward and forward on a brief and like tweaking things here and there when literally, if they've got the resource in house, it makes the more sense to do it.
Agreed.
Exactly.
And that must feed into sort of keeping those long-term relationships. Then that must mean that you're sort of working with clients a lot longer than sort of your average agency is when it comes to sort of churn and turnover of clients.
Well, we're still young, but there are a few clients that we've kept for like maybe 5 years. So there's like Formica I've worked with for 5 years, still working with them. There's a few others that are maybe 3 years, like Hayes Travel.
Okay, cool. So you got some names there already.
Just
names to drop in there. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but these are like so we're partnered with some digital agencies in the Northeast. So Cal Partners, Silverbean, the Silverbean kind of group, and we fulfill that analytics gap and that kind of CRO gap that those guys have. So we're partnered with them and then work alongside their clients, because I worked at Silverbean before. So once I went out on my own, they were like, this kind of perfect opportunity to kind of strike up a partnership. And that's A big way I've been able to grow our agency is through these kind of strategic partnerships with agencies that don't offer what we do, but can see the value in it and the value for their channels and their clients as well.
I think it's even just what you're saying there is you've got the relationship with your own clients, which then you've got with the partner agencies as well going forward. It's night and day if you consider 10 years ago and how certain agencies were selling into people and how thought of retainers were running, that type of thing.
But also in that breath as well, it's I think so like 5-6 years ago they looked in regards to they've got a gap for analytics. Right, well, we'll just sell it and see what we can do with it. Clients are asking for it. Do you know what? We'll just sell it. And then there we are. Whereas now it's like, because clients are more educated now. There's more resources available to kind of self-teach themselves, self-learn. And so what happens now, the agency will I'm a firm believer, stick to what you're best at. Yeah. Stick to what you're best at, because I feel like you're seeing these all-in-one digital agencies now are starting to fall by the wayside, and even when you might look at an all-in-one digital agency, they will have a stronger vertical which they focus on. Let's say is SEO, for example. They will sell a bit of PPC, they'll sell the social, sell Crow, but they will have a stronger vertical for it. But you find a lot of the people starting up now, like yourself, Scott, it's like, do you know what, this is what I'm data and analytics is my bag, this is what I do.
And it's almost like those other agencies, which don't get me wrong, they probably did start somewhere. One of them, they might start with PPC and they might have sort of added those layers to it, but you do find this from what I can see anyway, those agencies are now beginning to prep those clients to move on to someone like yourself in a way as well. So it's interesting to see.
It's tiresome trying to keep on top of all that. God, could you imagine being an expert in 5 different areas?
Who could? Especially with the exec turnover, like you mentioned. Like it's not. You can't get an exec.
That's the thing
for a year to be.
The point's there, Scott. You can't be an expert in 5 things. You absolutely can't. So if you're trying to, as an agency leader, you're trying to drive an agency forward in 5 different verticals, you absolutely can't.
No, I know. You
can't. It's just.
And why would you want to? Like, Scott,
and also, why would you want
to? Why would you want to do it?
Yeah, we're trying to scale up our processes at the minute. So, and it's just, we do SEO, CRO. With data in below it all. We don't see data as a service anymore. It's kind of like you just need to be good at data for these things. I'm just trying to do that and create all the process around that. It's like, right, okay, what happens at this point? What actions do we need to take? What do we need to look for? My God, just for just trying to get all the knowledge out of our heads and into a process that we can then teach people and do this. That's why the training, we're starting to create these training sessions. It's really helping because it's forcing us to take it out onto a page.
Almost create your own process documents while you're doing it. So you're creating your own documents while you're putting the training together.
Exactly, yeah. That's cool. And we're hopefully going to use this as content just for to raise the profile of the agency, to help people that want help, to just try and deliver as much value as possible. Because we want to stay small and boutique. We always say we don't want to get above 10 people. Because once we start getting past that, we start losing that connection with the other people in the business. And it just starts tumbling out of how much you can control. It's fine for an agency that concentrates on one thing. So this is you guys are a great example. It's you do Salesfire, you've got a very cohesive product. But when it's in the agency or consultancy where you're working with different clients, all these clients have different technologies, and then it just
you'll require some bespoke work, and then with bespoke work becomes opinions, and then when there's so many opinions across so many people, it spirals, doesn't it?
I found it happened. So my last job was at an agency which we scaled quite quickly over a 4-year period. I found that kind of level of understanding and involvement and you knowing what's going on with everyone. As soon as we went over 20, as soon as we went over the 20 mark,
that's interesting.
We got over 50 in the end in regards to staff numbers. Clients are well over 350 and things like that. We scaled quite well, but it's like, yeah, you kind of lose control of the culture and everything like that as much as you can. You feel you can be when you get over 20. Like you end up starting seeing people have their own little fraction groups in regards to social elements and stuff like that.
And it's a big responsibility, isn't it, to look after that? It's a massive issue.
Can you imagine the stress? It's like not even your own mortgage. It's like I've got 50 mortgages that I need to try.
Exactly. It's like it's nuts.
Oh, it's a big thing. Big thing. Yeah, looking out from your office, like there's 50 people. I'm responsible for their mortgages. That's a scary thing.
Man, yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. I'm getting told to wrap it up from. I felt like we could have gone on forever here. So we'll arrange another one to go through it. But before we do, I want to just ask, so what's next for Bedrock, and then how are you seeing the rest of the year pan out for you guys? How's it looking going into next year?
Hopefully full of beer gardens
yes.
in the summer. From a business point of view, the four of us had never been together since the company started. Probably.
Wow, that's interesting.
Scary to think that, isn't it? But do you know what? Like, it's not the first time I've been told that, but it's still like, it knocks me down a little bit. Like it's crazy.
It's mad, isn't it?
So yeah, we'll get everyone together. From a point of view of a business, what we're really trying to do is kind of raise the brand profile at the moment.
Okay.
To get like more direct clients, so we don't have to rely on partnerships as much. Like we love the partnerships; it's great, but getting direct to people, and it's been hard networking through coronavirus.
Completely.
So, we're going to work creating as much useful content as possible, basically, through free training sessions, like blog posts, and that's how we're really going to try and grow the brand. Is just be as helpful as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just be annoyingly helpful.
Annoyingly helpful, yeah. Especially like
give as much away as possible. Like give it all away for free. All the processes, what we do, how we work with clients, and then hopefully that works.
And then them clients are prepped as well when they come on board. Then they're in your way of thinking too. So where can people go to sign up for the free training and the newsletter as well? When you mentioned earlier.
Yes, you can sign up for the newsletter on the website.
Okay.
We'll be releasing stuff about the training through the newsletter. So the newsletter is the best place to go.
Okay, we'll put links in the socials and stuff.
Champion.
Thanks very much for joining us. I think we'll get another one arranged. I think we
no worries. That flew over. I can't believe.
I know.
That was,
Thank you very much.